Hello and welcome to Overexplained, the show where I abuse overpowered heroes in an attempt to climb my sorry butt out of Diamond and into Masters and Grandmasters. It has been quite an amount of time since I've been there, and I need to reclaim my title. Seems strange, Heroes OP, it's fine, he's nerfed has been called, not nerfed enough. Basically, my team was surprised that I picked Dehaka as the main tank because we picked a Leoric for the offlane earlier enough, and I basically told them it'll be fine, Dehaka is OP, we'll be in a situation where I'm able to abuse him to make things happen and to prove that I am a man of my word occasionally, sometimes. I'm going to Z right at the beginning of the game into this right side bush, and the enemy Lucio is going to try to make the play where he walks forward and boops me, but I'm going to predict he does that, move slightly forward, and I'm just going to grab him, pull him into my team, and he's going to instantly evaporate. So yeah, Dehaka, great hero. His Q is basically an ultimate. I believe it is literally an ultimate in League of Legends, but I don't quite remember whose ult it is. I remember Dreadnought talking about it when the hero initially came out. I'm going to walk forward here. I'm going to grab the Greymane, just pull him into our team, and that's the second kill off the Q. Yeah, Dehaka, not nerfed enough. This hero is insanely powerful. In pretty much any position you can draft him in, main tank, off lane. I haven't seen any teams exploring him as a 4-man hero, but obviously I'm not privy to all scrim details, so maybe some of the pro teams have been trying that. But I do believe he would be quite competent in the 4-man role as well, because he can fulfill the same spot as a Falstad, albeit with a lot more CC. Right here, we're just going to wait for a moment just to see if the enemy team is going to step up at all. They're not going to, so we're literally just going to chill, because the enemy team has no idea where we are, right? At this point in time, they do spot us. They're punching our Anduin, so I'm going to back up, give him some support, just put my body near his, and basically say, hey, you are not touching my Anduin. We're going to tongue the Muradin just for the sake of dealing damage effectively, because I'm anyway casting my W in order to damage the wave. So I figured I might as well put the Muradin in and get a little bit of damage. We're going to go over here and check the siege camp. Obviously the Greymane is on it, so that means he's not doing the bruisers on the top right side, which means we're not going to be able to invade that, unfortunately. I am going to allow this Junkrat to clear this wave, and I do see it is taking him just a second. It appears he doesn't have that many Q charges, so we're just going to pop forward, pop a W, and try to help him out there. We do get a lovely boop over there from the Junkrat. I'm just going to shark over here, try to find a target. We end up grabbing the Muradin, but as expected, the Lucio boops it off almost immediately, and we're going to lose our pull. Right here, we're just sharking back and forth, seeing if I can find something on the Rexar in the top lane. Unfortunately, I don't think I can find the Rexar just yet, so we're just going to come down into this bottom lane, clear out the enemy siege camp, and allow ourselves an advantage in the form of our siege camp pushing into the enemy bot wall. At this point in time, I do note that the Rexar is a little bit overextended, so I think maybe I can find a kill here, but the Lucio very intelligently interrupts me by coming forward to boop me. Fantastic play by the Lucio right there. By the way, if you want to make the Dehaka sound without actually going anywhere, you can Z in place, in the exact same place, in a bush. It will make the Dehaka sound, and it will scare your opponents, and they'll think you maybe just used your Z to back and then come back with full resources. So that is a little cheeky play that you can do. I don't abuse that in this game anyway, but I just wanted you to know that. I'm going to pop my W right here to clear out this wave, and we're going to get a fantastic double wave stacked here to push. I am just going to grab this Muradin so as to break his health regen. The Junker does end up using his W to rotate, so he does unfortunately boop him out. And I'm going to use my E right there, so that's that level 4 talent on Dehaka Lurker Strain. Emerging from your burrow, grants stealth, and knocks back nearby enemies, slowing them by 30% for 3 seconds. So that knockback right there is actually what allowed me to prevent the Muradin from simply jumping out and surviving. Great stuff right there. Lovely having 2 CCs on a hero, albeit at very lengthy cooldowns at 15 and 20 seconds. And obviously with the build that I'm going for, I haven't even talked about the build yet. So at level 1, I'm going to go for Enhanced Agility, level 4 Lurker Strain, and I'm going to pair that with the level 16 Tunneling Claws in order to ensure that my movement is going to be quite fantastic when I am underground. At level 7, we are going to opt for the Symbiosis, at level 10, Adaptation, and level 13, Ferocious Stalker. So Ferocious Stalker is the real reason why I liked to opt for the Enhanced Agility at level 1. Ferocious Stalker is an incredibly OP talent in my opinion, slows enemy heroes by 15% and deals 60% more damage. The 60% more damage is the real kicker right there, because it deals an insane amount of damage over time, especially with Symbiosis at level 7, basically giving you permanent uptime on your W should you be able to hit multiple enemy heroes at the same time. It's also fantastic to combine these potentially with Hero Stalker, gain 1 essence each time an enemy hero is hit by Dark Swarm. I have tested with that a little bit, and I found it to be raw overkill considering I already go Adaptation with this build. I found it just to be a little bit too much and not quite enough CC, which is more important for me, hence why I take the Lurker Strain instead. The Rexar is going to try to juke here, so we're going to be very, very patient with our CC, wait until he has panicked at the very, very tail end, and then we're going to find a lovely drag. Unfortunately, the Leoric doesn't E forward to damage him, so we're not quite going to find the kill, but my control of the top side does allow our team in addition to the pick that we found a little bit earlier, to secure the Dragon Knight. Just going to fast forward through the DK phase. There's nothing interesting to really say here. We do end up completely wasting, I believe 3 Dragon Knights this game were just completely wasted, which I was very disappointed by. We basically gave them Mephisto and Greymane free reign to just eat them. I do look for the tongue onto the Lucio right there, not quite able to find it because, again, I didn't want my my boop to get booped. And right there, we fantastically are able to use our E to cancel that Muradin's jump. So it is worth noting the knockback is a daze, and a daze is effectively a stun that will not interrupt moving channels, such as Lily's Jugs of 1,000 Cups. So a daze is effectively almost a stun. Right here, we are going to invade and look for the point quite aggressively. We do get off the point briefly just to look for a tongue, but it's not going to matter. The Greymane is predictably going to juke to the right side because he wants to live, and he's going to die. We're going to clear out the siege camp. Unfortunate that I wasn't able to capture the siege camp, but not the end of the world considering we do get the kill. I'm going to go mid to clear out, and we are able to pick our level 10s here, just fast forwarding a little bit through the doldrums of this game. Not too much going on right now, as there is very little to do on the map. I am going to pop my D and my adaptation right there in order to protect myself. I'm going to find a lovely ultimate coming in from the Anduin to protect me, and the bomb from the Junkrat is going to finish off that Greymane fantastically. So a very, very aggressive play right there, rotating directly into the enemy fort. Because I knew I had adaptation, I recognized that I could take a lot of damage from the fort and it wouldn't be that much of a problem effectively. This is my first Dehaka game in quite a bit of time, and it is my first Dehaka game, I believe, on Dragonshire, perhaps my first or second Dehaka game on Dragonshire ever. I do remember one a couple of months ago that I had when I was playing with Justin, and that was really fun because he was playing Urel, so I got to like switch off lane and main tank duties with him on and off because both of us know how to play both positions, which is a very useful thing if you want your tank or your offlaner to pick up heroes like Tyrael or ETC. It is something that you eventually will get a lot of practice of in scrims. So I am very aggressively going to dig here onto the right side. I was looking, I believe, for the enemy Mephisto or the Lucio. Apologies for the lag that is occurring right now. I'm not quite sure what's going on with my PC. Right here, I rotate the aggressive side, try to find the Lucio, not quite able to, but it wouldn't have mattered. Even if I did find him, I would have been stunned by the Muradin out of it. And I'm going to pop my adaptation. That is my panic button. It's very important for me to have panic buttons because I am a little bit of a monkey with my positioning and I need some way to protect myself after I do something very, very dumb. Right here, just like the Stitches video, which you may have watched, I am playing around traps, so I'm actively trying to pull things into the traps whenever possible. The Leoric wants me to leave right here. I really heavily disagreed with that. I think I should have stayed in this lane, killed the bear, and applied some pressure onto the Rexar, because right now there's nothing for me to do elsewhere on the map, considering that the enemy team is going to over-rotate into top, which is very predictable. They want to kill the offlaner. As expected, I'm going to find an absolutely monstrous tongue right there onto the Lucio at absolute max range. Really disgusting what you can do with a Dehaka tongue should you be able to, fortunately, use it like a Stitches hook, right, and find that fishing. I did mention the Stitches video, and I'll mention it again. There are 3 zones that your opponent will play in. Zone 1 is they are unaware of the things on their screen. Zone 2 is they are aware of what they can see in front of them. And zone number 3 is they are aware of things that they don't necessarily even see on the screen. And when your opponents are playing in Zone 2, it is important to predict the jukes that are coming out and utilize that information in order to aim for where your opponent is going to dodge towards in order to ensure you're able to hit your skill shots. Right here, we're going to do a very aggressive play. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the fort, pop my adaptation so that any damage I take from the fort is irrelevant, and I'm going to go to the right side and try to find a tongue, and then I'm going to miss spectacularly, and that was a huge waste of time and also very dumb to do. Do not try this at home. I'm going to pop my E right there to bounce the Muradin into my team, and we are able to find a good amount of damage, and then I'm simply going to pick up the DK. And I'm going to show you how to use the DK correctly, as I have in a previous video that you can find on the Patreon page, where you get videos like this 2 weeks earlier, by the way. And what we're basically going to do is we're going to breathe and we're going to knock back the Muradin, and this is going to give my team the ability to kill the Muradin, who is now on the left side of the map. The Greymane is going to commit right here, so I'm going to finish him off with the W while the Muradin is zoned and not really protecting his team or doing much of anything, and then I'm simply going to breathe on the gate. So it's very important when you're using the Dragonite to manage the timer and the HP so that they're both going down at about the same rate, because if either one of them is going down significantly more than the other one, you're probably misusing your Dragonite. Just going to punch Muradin into the corner right here. We're going to try for the ult on the Anduin, not quite able to find anything, and here I'm just going to use the last few seconds of the Dragonite to punch down the core, breathe some fire to finish off the Muradin, and then we're going to back up to deal with the fact that the Rexar is now flanking our team. I was looking for a cheeky grab right there, not able to find it. Do pop my isolation. This is a lovely thing about adaptation, sorry, not isolation, is if you pop your E, you can use it to protect yourself during the 4-second period where you have yet to receive the healing from the ultimate. And that allows you to protect yourself. Our Anduin, unfortunately, was lagging quite a bit here, so he wasn't really able to play the game. I am fishing for a tongue here, which is available in 2 seconds, but I really doubt I'm going to find anything. And at this point in time, I end up backing up. I do use a Q there on a Mephisto who had teleported forward solely for the damage. So drag hits for 288 damage at level 15, which is actually a pretty significant chunk. It punches relatively hard. If you take the level 7 talent, Feeding Frenzy, that allows you to reduce the CD of the drag so that you can punch things over and over and over again with the drag. It actually does a lot of damage and is a really useful sieging tool as well. But obviously that's not the case in this particular build, so it's a little bit less relevant. I do believe the enemy team was aware of me going to this bush. They saw it quite easily. I do believe the Lucio's gonna... Oh no, the Lucio does not come forward. That happened earlier in the game, my apologies. The Misha is going to check that bush, and here you can see the power of the level 13 talent. So no matter what 13 talent you go on Dehaka, 1W will be able to clear the wave. Even if you go the AA talent, because if you have Essence and you AA the backline, you will pretty much one-shot them with a W. So all three of those talents make it so that you clear waves very, very quickly. So here, my team wants to take this bruiser camp. I don't really speed up this bruiser camp that much by assisting them with it directly, so I'm just going to sit in the bush and watch, keep tabs on where the opponents are, see what's going on over there. I do see that my opponents have been missing for quite a while, so either they're AFK in this bush doing nothing, or they're taking their bruiser camp. If they're taking their bruiser camp, then I want to take advantage of that by pushing forward into the keep and getting some damage on the structure. Right here, I'm backing off just a little bit. Somebody has to manage this flank when your team is pushing, so you can see me just wiggling back and forth and watching the enemy team as best as I can. The Lucio does get hit by a raw root from the Anduin there. Fantastic prediction by our Anduin, and he's going to find the raw root into the Vala Rain of Vengeance, and the stun from the Vala is going to finish off the target. Fantastic stuff. I'm just managing the flank right here. The Anduin is able to protect our backline, which is his job. Good stuff. And then right here, I'm going to look for a tongue. Not quite able to find it as the CD was not available. I'm just going to pop it on the bear. I do love killing Misha off CD. That sounded very brutalistic, but what I mean is Rexar players tend to play very aggressively with their Mishas, so if you can punish them, and I'm just going to use my E right there to bump the Murden backwards just a little bit, just to make it a little bit more difficult for him to get on my Vala, and then we're going to rotate around here and look for a grab. I do end up missing by a millimeter onto that Murden. Unfortunately, mispredicted the direction in which he would juke. I do believe he also got CC'd as well. Our Vala is going to drop to critically low HP there, but thanks to our 3-level lead and our stats advantage of 12%, in either direction over the enemy team, we are able to keep her alive right there, and we're just going to be able to grab that Lucio raw. Not able to find the kill, unfortunately. Our DPS wasn't quite in position, and I do end up dying for that, so MB in the chat, my bad. Apologize to my team for not the worst thing in the world. And then right here, we're going to rotate forward, find a lovely raw root, and I do believe my Vala is about to carry this fight quite a bit. Do find a little bit of damage. Oh no, that comes later in the game. Sorry, I'm misremembering the heck out of these games. I played so many of them recently that they all start to blur together and I forget what actually occurred during the game. So this is as much of a discovery for me as it is for you. I'm just going to fast forward here to when I come up. I'm going to pop my Z to go into the top lane. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to manage the right side. So the Murden's going to continue to trade with Leoric, and the second he jumps over, I'm going to grab him and finish him off. So that's why I stayed in that bush rather than going to help the Leoric, because I knew the Murden would have to jump out eventually. In the meanwhile, my Anduin is going to die to the enemy team. Not quite sure what happened over there. I'm going to pop my W onto the Rexar right here, slow him significantly, and then I'm going to get entombed by my own Leoric XD. Pop my adaptation, because I thought the enemy Mephisto was about to teleport and damage me. He did not, and then I pop a completely random Q, which is definitely a mistake. A completely random Q in the hopes to just, you know, fortunately predict where the Lucio is going to go. I do believe this was another frustrating point in the game for me where we just misused our Dragon Knight. We have a siege camp pushing bottom, and yet we're going mid, even though killing the mid keep doesn't actually achieve anything, considering we're level 20 over level 17. We should really just be looking for core here. But my DK just wanders back and forth in the middle, which is extraordinarily unfortunate. I don't have much way to protect myself here. I used my adaptation, I used my essence, I pretty much just got my E, but I've got the move speed off the level 16, which makes it so that when you are underground in the E, you go incredibly fast. You absolutely zoom, and thanks to that, we are able to protect ourselves should the enemy team attack us. Try to predict the Lucio right there, but he's playing smart at this point in the game, plays around it. Right there, the Murden does come in. I was trying to bump him back towards the left side in order to achieve the kill, but we don't quite find anything. Again, that DK was very, very unfortunate. We're just going to wander back and forth here, not quite achieve anything for a few seconds, then we're eventually going to leave. I do try for a tongue, again, not quite able to find it. I pop my panic buttons because the enemy team is focusing me down, and because I have level 20, I do have the adaptation upgrade at level 20, which decreases the cooldown by 40 seconds, so it is now a 20-second cooldown, and I heal for more than the amount of damage I take. So instead of healing up to 100% of the damage you take, you heal up to 200%. Find a lovely pull onto the Murden there. So I was predicting somebody was going to come around the right side of that choke. We didn't pop quite enough ultimates for us to kill him. I do believe if the Junkrat had popped his tire right there, we would have quite easily been able to find the finish. At this point in time, I was really, really frustrated. I really want my team to just go core and end the game. Games should not be going this long. Like, we're at 15 minutes. We've been 3 levels up the entire time. We should have ended the game. And I was pretty frustrated at this point as well. But what I end up doing is running into the enemy team. I'm not going to find anything here because they're obviously sprinting away from me, and Dehaka doesn't really do much about that when he doesn't have his enhanced agility activated due to being too far away from the bush. 5 seconds elapse, and then you don't have your move speed anymore, and then you can't really do much. My tongue is down here for 10 seconds, so I'm not going to find anything. The Leoric is getting punched in the face quite aggressively right here, and then the enemy team is going to commit some number of ultimates in order to find nothing really, which is good for us. We find another raw root onto the Lucio, which is quite funny. And then I do find a tongue onto the Murden. We aren't quite able to find the boop in time to knock him over to the left side, so the boop from the Junkrat did just barely miss there. Not quite able to find the kill, but that's okay. We got another tongue coming up in 3 seconds. We're going to be able to use that to go fishing. Fishing is basically exactly what it sounds like, right? It's when you are playing a tank that has an engage of some sort, and you are basically looking for what you can kill. I put the Murden right on the trap there, but unfortunately the trap did not arm in time for me to actually lock him down. We tried our best, not quite able to find it, but that's a-okay. We're going to find a kill here, I believe, onto the Mephisto from the... something dies here, I don't quite recall what. I do find the tongue right there onto the Murden. I pull him in. We're able to find one auto attack, and then I pop my adaptation and I sprint under the enemy core. I don't die, obviously, because I make sure to back off from the enemy damage right before it would have been lethal. Right here, I do believe I pop an E and go sit on my Vala in an attempt to protect her from the damage coming in. I do get a lucky tongue onto the Junkrat. Had I, onto the Lucio, my apologies. Had I been a little more heads up, I could have pulled him into the Caltrops, but I don't have any move speed right now, so it's rather difficult for me to do. At this point in time, I'm going to Z into the top lane, so that is a very lengthy cooldown, 75 seconds, but we are going to be able to get the DK as a result of that, and I do believe, unfortunately, I believe this DK might have also been wasted. I don't quite recall. I pinged the core because I'm like, guys, can we please stop effing about? We need to end the game. There's no reason this should take this long. Like, we should have ended 2 minutes ago. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes ago had we played really well. Just gonna have a skirmish of a fight. Look at the DK. It's lost all of its HP already. It's so frustrating when this happens in games, and I really don't expect this to happen at the diamond level, but I guess there's been a degradation ever since the culling of 2018, December 13th. We evaporate our Leoric right here. Unfortunately, not quite able to find anything. I do E forward in attempt to CC something so that I can get this grab on the Greymane, but the Endoin ends up pulling me out in an attempt to protect me. I appreciate it, but it was quite unnecessary. And then right here, I'm going to do the same maneuver I did earlier, where I'm looking around that topside right edge in order to potentially find something. So right here, should anybody come around, I want to grab them and pull them immediately. I do have a little bit of move speed thanks to being in a bush recently, and again, I have 5 seconds of that move speed thanks to the level 1 enhanced agility, which is, by the way, a combination with the level 13 talent that's only proccing while you have that move speed. So moving it into a 5-second means you have this for a much longer time. One interesting play that I made here was I opted not to cap the bruiser camp so that I could save it for when our siege camp is coming, and also so that I could potentially bait the enemy team into coming to fight on the bottom right side. I do end up capping it right about here, and then I just simply sprint at the enemy team at absolute maximum speed. I do end up eating a stun from the Murden. Had I really wanted, I could have E'd to evade that, but it felt unnecessary. The Murden's going to commit his jump, so I'm going to commit my E as well in order to protect myself while we wait for the Leoric to rotate in. And then I do believe I'm simply going to pop all my buttons and sprint in. So we do find the Entomb, and this is just a cluster truck of a fight. The important thing to keep in mind is that we want to protect our backline as best as we can, and if possible, neutralize the enemy carry. The carry in this case is the enemy Mephisto, who is quite a powerful unit. We do end up having this fight go quite pear-shaped. We can see the Vala on the far end trying to 1v9, but not quite tanky to do so. I do end up popping all of my buttons, and at this point in time, I don't have any panic buttons. I don't have any way to protect myself. I do try for the lucky pull on the Greymane, but unable to find the kill with the remaining DPS, who is the Junkrat. I do believe the Junkrat goes and accidentally suicides here. He does something incorrect, I recall. So what I end up doing is I see into top lane, I grab this, and then we have the bottom shrine. I run into mid lane, and at this point in time, the enemy team has to fight us in order for them to find a victory. Their win condition is to prevent us from getting this DK. So we're going to 100% of the time have this fight occur. He tries for the Entomb, just barely misses it, and now the Endoin is trying to channel, and the Lucio is trying to suicide in order to prevent this channel from occurring, because again, the Lucio knows if this channel happens, he's going to lose the game. So obviously he has to die to stall it as best as he can. At this point in time, we finally find a DK that is going to go to the enemy core and punch it till it falls over. Thank goodness. And you can see how much of the DK is burned just walking there. We lost an entire half of the DK just walking towards the enemy core. And I'm going to back off here just to preserve my KDA so I can, you know, pretend I'm a better player than I am. XD. Diamond player, by the way. And we're just going to finish off the core there, and lovely stuff. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoy this content or would like to receive it 2 weeks earlier, feel free to head on over to the Patreon, where I also offer coaching. Otherwise, folks, take care, stay safe, and we will see you in the Nexus.